Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I am here with my weekly wrap up and I can tell you it should be a pretty quick one because I just got back from vacation and I did not get a lot done. So I only have 5 books to go over this week. So let's just quickly dive into my weekly reads. Okay guys, so I just got back actually yesterday from Mexico. I had such a great time. I went with my brother and his family. My mom went along too, and we all stayed in a house down in Mexico. And I had a really great time, but I did not get a ton of reading done. Part of the problem was, of course, being with family. You're on vacation. You're not really focusing on reading the whole time. But the other problem is I really struggled with one specific book for like my entire vacation. So it took me mostly 5 days to get through an arc. Honestly, I probably should have DNF'd it, but I just pushed through because I really wanted to still read it. But I will go into that here. But I basically had just a great time in Mexico, but not a great reading week. So I definitely didn't have as good of a week as last week. I was giving out 5 stars left and right. I do have some really good reads here, and one that was just a big disappointment. But let's go ahead and dive in. I want to make this video as quick as possible because I have more videos to film. I need to get you guys some Mafia recommendations. I'm planning on filming a Mafia rec video for Captor Captive. I put up a poll on my YouTube channel and you guys voted for Captor Captive Mafia rec. So I plan to film that right after this. And then I also do want to film, I don't know if I'll get to it today, but I do need to film it this week. I want to get some governess recs out for the Everafterathon that I'm doing in May as well, which is my team is Team Governess. So if you don't know about that, make sure you check out the announcement. I'll link that video down below. And I would love for you to join my team because I have the smallest team, you guys. And nobody is like really jumping onto the governess one, which is more dark gothic kind of romances. But it's also historical romance is a key. And then governess is like the main character role. But I'm not going to go into that here. Sorry, sidetrack. All over the place right now. Let's just dive into what I read. So this will be a quicker video for me, hopefully. Okay, so for the first book, I read an arc, and this was Legacy by Eva Simmons. This is the first time I've read this author, and I was sucked in immediately. I really enjoyed this. This is an MC romance. This is the 3rd book in the Twisted Kings MC series, and this is another single dad nanny book. I've read so many nanny and single dad books lately, but this is another one. And I really enjoyed this. It didn't blow me away, where I fully gave it 5 stars, but I had a great time with it. In this, we have Jesse. His MC name for his club is Legacy, but his real name is Jesse, and Reagan. And Jesse, he's part of the club. He's a single dad. He's got this adorable daughter, Beatrice, that he kind of got one of those club whores, or whatever they call them, pregnant, and she wanted nothing to do with the kid. And so he has been kind of being a great single dad, trying to keep that life separate, but it's really hard to keep that separate, when you have, you're part of the MC. And he has this older woman that is his nanny, but she has cancer. And so it's really hard for her right now to keep up with taking care of his daughter. So she actually invites her niece, kind of without telling Legacy, knowing he would kind of be like against it. But she invites her niece down to take over as the nanny. And she shows up and she's this gorgeous, ray of sunshine, just doesn't look like she fits in type of thing. Like she came from a pretty good family, and different type of lifestyle. And he does not want her there. He tries to kind of chase her off, run her off, but Reagan is pretty ballsy. She doesn't really know a lot about the MC lifestyle, but she's not going to be chased away. She really wants to help her aunt, or I think it's her aunt. Anyways, she wants to help her because she was more of a mother to her than like her own parents. She kind of doesn't have the best relationship with them. And so she's sticking around and she's going to be the nanny. And she's really great because her relationship that she builds with Beatrice is just so precious. And he really sees her like cooking for them, being like so good with his daughter. And so he can't help it but like fall for her. And so, you know, this actually was a really good slow burn of them like living, because she's a live-in nanny and she's living with him. She befriends some of the women in the club, which I love it when I see an MC romance where we're not hating on the other woman or jealous of the other woman or the other woman hating her immediately. You get that a lot with a lot of MC. So I love to see it when like the women come together and they're like friends. And I would definitely be interested in reading the previous book, since this is the third in the series. I really liked all the side characters. They were all very interesting. So I'm definitely interested. So it's just, honestly, it was a very sweet single dad kind of nanny romance situation going on, with slow burn and some good sexual chemistry. The sex between them was really hot. I had a really good time with it. It was honestly very sweet for an MC. But I will say the third act goes a lot darker. So also there is a couple suspense elements. There's stuff obviously going on with the MC, a rival MC that's kind of coming after them and doing shady shit. And then there's also the fact that Reagan kind of left her life back at home. She was like a secretary at a school. She left that because her boss, like, she went on one date with him and realized he was kind of shady and didn't continue dating him. And he didn't really take no for an answer. So he's kind of been stalking her. So that's another element that we have that comes into play here. I will say the darker element has to do with the MC. So that's a usual normal thing. But I do want to give trigger warnings just in case, because it does get a little bit darker than I was expecting, because this was such a sweet single dad nanny romance. So the trigger warnings that I have in this is sex trafficking. So that's a big thing that comes into play. And that mostly has to do with the rival MC. Murder, torture, and then obviously, so we have motorcycles that come up on the weekends up here. And then obviously we have, you know, a loved one that's suffering from cancer. So that could be a trigger. There were some good toys used in this that I thought was fun. So I really enjoyed this. I had a great time with it. I gave this one 4.5 stars and then 3 chilies. Okay, so then I listened to an ALC and I listened to Bull Rush. I've been saying this going the rounds. I saw Jen talk about it on the Book Refuge before. And since I have now been accepted to Must Love Audio, I actually was really lucky enough to get the audiobook for this. So this is by Maggie Rawdon, and this is the first book in the Quiet Horseman series. It was kind of like promoted as like dark cowboy romance, but I didn't fully view it as cowboy. It was kind of had some Western vibes. In this, it's like kind of like a second chance, you know, of a married couple. We have Ramsey, Stockton, and Hazel. And Hazel and Ramsey have been divorced, or they think they've been divorced. He actually is a ex-NFL player, and his family owned this ranch. And he kind of went away to do play football, and she has basically stayed back and has been taking care of that ranch and running it and everything. He ends up actually, you could tell this is from like a previous series, but he actually gets arrested for, I think, manslaughter or like killing somebody in defense of one of his other players. I don't know the full story. I think that ties into like a previous series, but he is now out of prison, and they both kind of find out she was trying to get a loan for the ranch. And he also found out when he gets out and everything that he's actually still married. I don't think she had signed the paperwork, but never fully sent it in. I can't fully remember. But anyways, they are still married. And he basically shows up at her door. And it's not a great time for her because she's actually engaged. She's supposed to get married to this douche in like 6 months. You'll see why this guy's a douche. Because basically, Ramsey offers up, hey, I'll give you $1 million. That'll help with her loan situation, what's going on with the ranch. I'll give you $1 million if we can live as husband and wife, like for real husband and wife, for I think it was 90 days. Yeah, 90 days. And she's kind of just like, what the hell? Like, there's no freaking way I'm doing that. But her fiance is on board because they need this money, and he's not intimidated, and he thinks her husband never gave her an orgasm, which she just kind of told him to like make him feel better about himself, because she did have issues having orgasms. She usually needed like toys or something. And sorry, it's really windy at my window over here, so I'm like making sure the curtains aren't flying everywhere. So anyways, she ends up agreeing to do it. Her fiance is going like out of state for some kind of training. And so now her and Ramsey are going to be living in the same house as husband and wife. And they have a lot of like history, and, you know, they have this connection that they haven't resolved all their issues. So now it's going to kind of force them into this, you know, living environment where things are going to happen. So there is cheating in this. If you know, you kind of forgive it because her fiance literally was okay with it, knowing the situation, knowing that they would be probably having sex since they'd be living as husband and wife. So you're kind of okay with it, but it still is a little shady, you know, but they definitely have this connection and all that kind of stuff. So I enjoyed this. It didn't blow me away. I thought it was a good introduction to the series. I did feel like, oh my God, my curtains are driving me nuts. I did feel like I didn't really know all the characters in this town. There was a lot of history, a lot of stuff going on with like his family and like a casino and just all this stuff that I just felt like was thrown in there. And maybe it's from like the previous series or something, but like I felt like I didn't really fully get it. And that could have been me trying to listen to this while I was on vacation, so that might have been a me problem. But this was very spicy. The audiobook was really well done. So this was narrated by Aiden Snow and Elena Wolf. And it was very good. So I believe it was duet narration too. I'm sorry, I didn't write that down, but I think it was duet narration. And he's a dirty talker, and it was sexy. So I had a great time with the audiobook. I ended up giving that one 4 stars and 3.5 chilies. Okay, sorry, I had to close my window because my curtains were flying all over the place and driving me nuts. So hopefully you guys didn't hear that, but okay. So next, I also listened to another ALC. As you can see, I was trying to get some of my ALCs. I have so many ALCs this month. I'm so behind in reading. Like, I haven't even got to the Outliner book I have to read by, I think, next weekend. So I'm just stressing out. But anyways, I listened to more of my ALCs on vacation since it was easy to put like it in while I like laid out at the beach and stuff like that. So the next ALC I had was Sin With Me by Brooke Montgomery, and I was so excited to finally get to this one. I am on her ALC team, so I wanted to get her audiobook. So her audiobooks usually release a little bit later after her arcs go out. So I know people have like, I've seen people's reviews and stuff coming out about this book for a while. So I was excited to finally get to the ALC of this. And this is the 5th book in the Sugarland Creek series. I believe this is the conclusion of the series too. So it was a little bittersweet seeing the end of such a great series. I really loved it. Some books were huge hits. Some are a little okay, you know, but I think it was a really cute, like nice cowboy series if you wanted to give it a try. This is actually going to be Wilder's romance, and I was highly anticipating this one because in the previous book, we see his twin story and how his twin really didn't get to have a love life, and he had a lot of pressure on his shoulders because of Wilder's mental health issues and self-harm and all of that kind of stuff. He lived kind of dangerously and would put himself at risk. And so his twin was just always going through that. So I really do think you should read the previous book before you read this one, just to kind of get that. Because he ends up, they kind of like both end up with each other's, oh wait, no, it wasn't each other's exes. So Wilder ends up in this one, Delilah is actually his twin's ex. And so in that one, the heroine's sister like was the ex. So anyways, I'm making it confusing. Just ignore that. Okay. So in this, we have Wilder and Delilah. And now the prologue opens up with some really heavy stuff. It's very emotional. We get to see, Wilder in a state of distress. He's in a bad episode. He wants to cut himself. He does a lot of self-harm. So he will cut himself. He'll cut himself in his legs. And sometimes he's gone too deep where he's almost died or been hospitalized and lost a lot of blood. So it's a very serious thing. He suffers from, depression and anxiety, and he uses self-harm as a way to go work through those things. And then if he's not trying to self-harm, he'll tend to overdrink, and party to try and mute those feelings. So he's in a bad place at the beginning of this, and he actually calls a hotline for like a crisis hotline, and he ends up speaking to Delilah. Now Delilah and him kind of form a connection because he really kind of connects to her during these calls, and he always wants to call and like only speak to her. He like really trusts her, and so they kind of build this connection, and eventually she's not really there answering his calls, and so he does end up finally going to therapy. And then when he meets his twins' girlfriend, it ends up being Delilah, and he recognizes her voice instantly. They actually both know it's the other, but they never say anything. So it's kind of like that hidden identity thing, but he was kind of like bummed that his twin was with her. And then so it's like a couple years later down the road, obviously Delilah is no longer with his twin. He found his HEA with her sister. So that's what I was talking about. Anyways, so now him and Delilah, like Delilah's kind of been tasked by his twin to kind of keep an eye on Wilder, make sure he doesn't get too crazy, because now he's not really doing that anymore. And so she's out with him. They hang out together. She really keeps an eye on him, and they just have this mutual pining situation going on. They kind of have a couple interactions that lead to like kind of like the suspense element of this one cop that like pulls them over and starts drama with them, and another side character. That was kind of a lot. I'm not going to go into all of that, but what I will say is they end up going to Vegas for I think it was a race, or like I can't remember what, but they're there, and they end up getting married. So it's a Vegas wedding, and then Wilder actually wants to prove to her that they can make it work as husband and wife, and like ask for her to give him that time. Oh, you know what? Yeah, hold on. I can't remember how long it is that he asked, but maybe it's like the 30 days or whatever. I can't remember, but he asked her to like give him the time to show her that he's serious, that he wants to make this work. And so they go about doing that. So I thought this was pretty low angst between them. They were really sweet together. They had good banter. They had great sexual chemistry. So it was spicy. But I did feel like we just went over all the mental health issues that were really brought up in the previous book, and then really brought up in the prologue. You do hear him talk about getting therapy and this and that, but we never saw any of it. So that's my only issue with it, is I wish that we could have seen him actively going to therapy, actively talking to his therapist, dealing with those issues, instead of us just skipping all of that to like where he's doing better. He still has issues. He'll still have, some episodes and where he needs help, but I wanted to see him work through that instead of us just skip it, because it was made to be such an important part of the story. It's how they come together. It's what his brother was dealing with in the previous book. So I do feel like we just kind of skipped it. So that was my only issue. I did really enjoy it. This was narrated by Teddy Hamilton and Avery, I think it's Cerise, if I'm saying her last name right. And Teddy Hamilton, I love Teddy Hamilton, and he's fantastic. He's great at dirty talk. I love Teddy. So it was great audiobook. Highly recommend the audiobooks. And so I ended up settling with this one on a 4-star, because I did feel like those pieces were missing. Some trigger warnings, obviously, in this is the depression, the self-harm, cutting. There's domestic abuse of like side characters, kidnapping, and then there's a pretty risky childbirth that happens like out of the hospital. Not to our character, but. And then they did have some squirting in this. I think he was pierced. And I can't remember, but I think there was some butt plug stuff too. So it got pretty spicy. So anyways, had a good time with that one. And I am excited to see what else is to come for Brooke. Okay, so now comes to the part that I struggled with for like 5 days. And this is an arc. This is Loving the Reaper by Lola King. I read the first book in this series and I freaking loved it. This is a secret society, dark romance type of series. The first one, I was so impressed with it. I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. And this one was just a huge letdown. So in this, we have Rayne and Penelope, but basically everybody calls her Peach because she has such a great ass. Her ass is like a peach. So I guess she just went with that nickname. Anyways. And Rayne and Peach have been best friends since they were kids. Rayne has been obsessed with her and wants her to be his. He's basically been waiting and biding his time, always still trying to get with her. But this girl is one of the most annoying heroines I have ever read. And that's what made this book a struggle, was she is like the over-the-top, badass party girl. She's always doing drugs. She's has to be the best at everything. And she honestly gets off knowing he's obsessed with her and keeping him hooked and never going there with him. And his thing is he's more of a dominant and he wants a little bit of a submissive, and she will not bow to anyone, and I'm not gonna, get on my knees for you. And she likes to be the controlling one when he wants to be that way. And so she just says she loves him, like cares about him, but like they're not compatible. Even though everyone in their life knows that like they have this insane sexual chemistry connection and that they should be together, she won't go there. So in the beginning of this, there's this one chick that like he started to kind of hook up with to make her jealous, and that girl ends up getting killed, and you're kind of led to believe it was Peach, but I never really thought it was Peach. But there's this kind of gossip girl columnist at this school, and she has a picture of her like right where the chick like fell to her death. And so she's threatening her, and like this person is blackmailing her to kind of do things throughout this book. So Rayne's family is part of this secret society. He has this like dorky younger brother that's like her other good friend that he hates. He does not have a good relationship with them. He hates his parents. But like she won't stop being friends with his younger brother. And I could tell from the get-go that this younger brother was going to be the shady fucking character. I'm not going to say a lot. I can't give away too much because this book hasn't even come out yet. It should be coming out, I think, the 22nd or sometime this week. I think it's Tuesday. But a lot of the stuff I saw coming. There is a big twist near the end, and it reveals stuff, and it made me not like the heroine even more. So really, like, why this book was too long. It was like over 500 pages. It was so drawn out with like her like leading him on, not being with him, all the secret society stuff. Then when they're finally hooking up, it's like just constant sex scenes, but like we're not getting anywhere with the story. Like this book could have been cut by like 150 pages. It didn't need to be that long. And the heroine made me crazy. She was like the over the top like feminist. I'm about women's rights and like the women, and it just rubbed in my face. I don't need feminist viewpoints shoved down my throat. I just don't. And she never shut up. And it was like her whole fucking character. And she would never succumb to like wanting to be with him, even though she was in love with him. She does take a drastic turn and is like, oh, I love him at one point. So I was like, okay, maybe it'll get better. And then the big reveal happens and I didn't like her even more. So I don't know. There's a lot that goes on with the secret society and I could go into all that. But I just really struggled. I mean, it took me 5 days. And I mean, I'm not working. I'm on vacation. 5 days to read this arc. I couldn't get into it. I couldn't get behind this female. And when I don't like a heroine, it's bad. Like, it's going to be a bad book. And she's one of the most frustrating heroines I think I've read. And I never cared about her. I felt bad for Rayne, but I also wanted him to man up and put her in her fucking place, you know? So anyways, in this, he is a part of the secret society. And there's this whole like initiation thing for when him and his brother have to initiate. They have to bring a woman. And then also, so there's Aphrodites and there's Heras. So the Aphrodites, Aphrodites and the Heras, the people they're choosing, have to run through this maze. If the older senior members of this secret society catch you, you become an Aphrodite. And an Aphrodite is basically their whore. Like, they get to fuck you or do whatever they want with you. You're their sex toy. They can just do whatever they want to you. And then if you get to the end and you get to one of the guys and pick, like, you touch or whatever, you become a Hera. And that's kind of like their wife or whatever. And so she gets kind of like, somebody invites her to this initiation. And the heroine from the previous book is like, don't go, because she knows what this is and how the hell she went through at this initiation. But she's getting basically blackmailed by that, you know, gossip, you know, column person, whatever. Sorry. And she ends up going. And so, you know, he ends up getting her, though. And so she's going to be his Hera and she's going to be his. And he's going to force her to be his in every way. So that's kind of where we're at. So he is also the Reaper of the Secret Society, where he basically kills everybody for them. He kind of goes off. He is not as good as the previous hero in the series, but he basically kind of loses it, and it always has to do with Peach. He'll like kill people that touch her wrong or look at her wrong, and it's just kind of over the top, his obsession with this bitch. But he, like, you know, basically is the killer for this secret society. So then there's a lot of deaths happening within the society, and it's not looking good for him because that could put them in danger. So that's all I'll say. I'll just say I was very disappointed in this. So I am sitting between a 2.5 and a 3-star. I feel bad giving an arc a 2.5 when I gave the previous book a 5-star. I still wanted to read this and finish it because one of the other characters, I think it's Achilles, I can't remember his name now. One of the other characters' book is next, and so I didn't want to lose any of like the plots and stuff going on in the Secret Society because I do want to read his book. So I still want to read that one. I just think that this heroine was a little too much for me. She didn't work and she frustrated me. So I'm debating 2.5, maybe round it up to 3 stars on Goodreads because it is an arc. You know, I'll have to hold my full review for a little bit because it's a negative review. But yeah, it didn't work for me. And then I think I gave it like 3.5 chilies. Okay, so now on to the last one, and this is another ALC, and I listened to Mr. Charming by Piper Rayne. This is the 4th book. I think it's the final book, too, in the series. It's the Nest series, and I listened to all the audiobooks in the series, and I could not recommend them more. This does have a full cast duet narration. They are fantastic. Each of the narrators played a specific character, and they play that character through each book. Except for Teddy Hamilton is kind of just played side characters. So he'll like be the side, like random side characters throughout the series, which I thought was really cool. So anyways, this was a good way to end the week for me because I loved this book. This is between Tweety and Teddy. And Tweety has kind of been the player, the fun guy kind of group on this hockey team. But you always knew there was like this kind of love from his past. And that is Teddy. And this is like a 13-year like love story, basically. Like they fell in love 13 years ago. They were in a devoted relationship for years. And now Teddy, she's actually works for kind of like a PR kind of agency. She's one of the heads of that. And her boss, they mainly focus on hockey. And he sends her to Chicago to help out with that team, which is the Chicago Falcons. And so she knows that Tweety's there. And so she's very nervous to have to be the one to go and help this team and work with the team members. Now, some of the members know exactly who she is and what she was to Tweety. Some don't. But she arrives and she's kind of like freaked out because she just feels such a deep connection to him. And she doesn't want to get drawn back in and have them like totally break each other's hearts again. So she asked her brothers, like her little brother's best friend, who's I think playing for like a baseball team. I don't know if that's going to be like the next series, because I really love this guy's character because he really goes through a lot to help Teddy throughout this fake dating situation, because she asked him to fake date her. It was supposed to be just some random thing. Then she gets called to a dinner. Then they keep like wanting him to come to events. And so this poor guy is like, why are you making me do this? Like, you obviously love each other. Stop playing these games. He gets hurt a few times. It's just kind of hijinks kind of happen. So I really liked his character. So I hope like he's gonna get like he'll be in like the next series or something. But so she goes on the road with them. They like want to like make Tweety one of the main focuses of the PR, because one of like I think he was the owner or another PR guy. I can't remember what his role was, but he was basically in charge, and he wanted to get rid of Tweety and try to like trade him. And so he was trying to make him the focus to kind of get rid of him. And she's just pissed off by that. But her and Tweety just like have this insane connection, and it is told through flashbacks, but they're like kind of flashbacks of them when they were writing and like doing journaling. So like Tweety has like a really bad like childhood experience, like with his father was like a drug addict and was with multiple women, and he hated his father. And so it was kind of something he did for therapy way back. And so throughout the book, there's these flashbacks that are told through them like writing in their journal kind of things. And I thought that was really unique. And I thought that these flashbacks were really important because it shows them falling in love, and then different throughout the years of their relationship together, you get to see how they fell apart. And I gotta say, I got like a little teary-eyed when you see how they broke up and just everything, because they were so right for each other. They were meant to be together. It was just the wrong time, I guess. So this is one of the best second chance romances I think I've read in a really long time, because there were valid reasons and you kind of understand what each of them was going through on why they broke up. Usually with second chance, I get very irritated because it's a flimsy fucking thing. And so I really just, my heart broke for them when they ended things. And obviously, you know, they're not going to be able to stay away from each other. So this was just super sweet. I loved it. I thought the audiobook was fantastic yet again. This was narrated by Troy Duran and Christine Larkin. Those were the two main characters. And then again, we have the full cast. So we have Teddy Hamilton, Sean Masters, Connor Craze, J.F. Harding, and C.J. Bloom. So it is a fantastic cast of narrators here. And if you want to try the audiobooks, I highly recommend them because they are so good. So no surprise, I gave this one 5 stars. I loved it. And 2.5 chilies. It was just so sweet. And I'm really loving Piper Rayne. So anyways, this ended up being just as long as usual, I think, with only 5 books because I was ranting. So thank you so much for watching this. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Leave me a like, a comment down below. Commenting really helps my channel. All of that really helps. And I appreciate you guys. So another motorcycle. All right, so I thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.